Today's guest is Dr. Malcolm Knowles. Welcome, Dr. Knowles. Well, thank you very much. You know, I'm considered the founder of adult education as a separate discipline in and of itself. And while I didn't coin the term andragogy, it does name my theory regarding adult learning, and I apply it to any type of adult learning. My andragogy theory applies to adult learners who are older than 18 and past their freshman year of college. I'd like to first look at the 5 unique characteristics of adult learners as I've identified them. That first characteristic is their self-concept. An adult learner moves from being dependent to increasing their self-directedness as they mature, and they can begin to direct their own learning. The second characteristic that are unique to adult learners is that of experience. Each individual draws on his or her own accumulation of life experiences to aid in the learning processes. The third characteristic is that of readiness to learn. The adult learner is ready to learn whenever he or she assumes a new social or life role. The fourth characteristic is that of orientation to learning. The adult learner is problem-centered and wants to apply new learning as quickly as possible. The fifth characteristic is the motivation to learn. For the adult learner, the motivation is internal and not external. So now I'd like to look at the 4 principles of andragogy. The first principle is that adults need to be involved in the planning and the evaluation of their instruction. They need to buy into it. Secondly is the experience, including mistakes, which provides the basis for learning activities. The third principle is that adults are most interested in learning subjects that have immediate relevance and impact them personally or professionally. And the fourth principle of andragogy is that adult learning is problem-centered rather than content-oriented. The first question I'd like to look at is, what are the implications for e-learning instructors? For e-learning instructors, they become facilitators of learning, and they provide minimal intrusive instruction and maximum guidance and support. Their guidance plus the resources they provide are going to allow the student to search and discover in that learning process. Instructors need to utilize specific experiences to demonstrate how the information is relevant to the learner. This is key to the student finding use in the course. The instructor is going to create an environment for learning that's relevant to the student's social and professional development, which is going to enhance their desire to participate. The instructor also needs to ensure that the students are clear from the very beginning how the e-learning module will apply to them and their situations. And this is going to help guarantee that student's buy-in. So real-world examples that are specific to the students or the organization where they're working are going to be the most tangible and most effective. So the instructor needs to provide understanding as to why the information is important and when it will be applicable to the learner, so that these are going to help the learner's internal motivation become engaged. The second question I would like to look at is, what are some technology challenges that must be considered? The first challenge is that adult learners have different experiences using different technology. There's PCs, there's Mac, there's Android, there's iPad. So whenever designing online learning, the tools should be usable across platforms if at all possible. The second technology challenge to consider is the technology literacy. Don't assume that adult learners have the same level of technology literacy. And by this we mean, does the student know what a USB is? Do they know what a flash drive is? Do they know what a PDF is? How about a zip file? So these are related to the technology literacy. The third challenge is understanding that individuals have different levels of experience using technology. You may have a beginning technology user, somebody who has very little literacy and they've not used technology very much, and you may have in your class someone who has a very in-depth knowledge and understanding and has been using technology for years. But you do have to anticipate that some adult learners are going to be apprehensive about using technology. They may be in an online class, but that doesn't mean that they're comfortable with technology. And the last challenge to consider is that a person's social and cultural exposure is going to impact their acquisition and their knowledge of technology. The last question that I would like to look at is, what about the future of andragogy and technology? Well, one thing is sure. The majority of adults consider themselves lifelong learners, whether it's personal or professional growth. Learning occurs in a lot of different locations, but one thing is common, and that's the use of the internet. There are many factors that impact ongoing adult learning endeavors and the use of technology in those endeavors. And these include an individual's desires and goals to learn, what their current educational level is, what their household income may be, what technology they own, what is their personal outlook. Race and ethnicity are also impacting factors, and lastly, the type of job the individual holds. The last thing I'd like to add is simply a personal note, and that is my connection to Fayetteville and the University of Arkansas. My son is Eric Knowles, and he's a professor emeritus, having taught in the Department of Psychology at the U of A for 23 years. And during that time, he was department chair for a couple of years. He just retired, about 10 years ago. And he is now president of Omega Change Consulting Groups. And just to put a plug in for him, he is available for speaking engagements. He has researched and written about Omega strategies of social influence which promote change by lessening resistance. So the whole concept here is effective ways of reducing resistance to change or to social influence. I'd like to add a personal note here. Dr. Malcolm Knowles passed away Thanksgiving Day 1997 in Fayetteville, Arkansas, while spending the day with his family. Today's guest speaker has been Dr. Malcolm Knowles. We thank you, sir.